Welcome everybody to today's webinar. So the reason we're running this session is for a number of reasons. We've had a significant drop off in commencements of apprenticeships across Victoria and New South Wales. And we've had a number of members and industry people and government coming to us to say, Carpentry Australia's got a strong reach. We've got great connection. So what can we do to play our role to boost the numbers coming through? Now, to give a bit of context as to how this came about, we're at the Melbourne Build Expo, and we did a presentation with Apprenticeships Victoria. And that kick-started an introduction between Jaimie and myself, who I'll introduce in a moment. And we started talking about the opportunities that a lot of members and a lot of carpenters and builders may not be aware of. So what we tend to see, broadly speaking, is a lot of carpenters, their workflow can sort of go in ups and downs. So they can be a bit nervous about taking somebody on full time and worrying about if there's enough work to sustain that new person and wanting to do the right thing. So there's two key areas we're going to be covering in this webinar. One is the work that HeadStart does and how that's going to work with Carpentry Australia in supporting all our members and users across Victoria. And number two is how you can play even a small role in helping to build the future of the industry. So there's going to be opportunities for you to do that beyond what we talk about here. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Jaimie. So Jaimie, are you happy to give a bit of background as to your role and sort of some of the work you do before we get started?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Nathan. So my name's Jaimie Khan. I work in a program called HeadStart, which is a program run by the Department of Education here in Victoria that has us work out of government secondary schools with young people who want to pursue a trade or another career where university isn't the pathway. So that could be a traineeship, for example, in business or something like that. But as we talk today with you guys from Carpentry Australia, it's about those young people at our schools who want to become carpenters. And so our role is to engage with organisations like Carpentry Australia through people like Nathan, employers like yourselves, and identify opportunities for young people to take that passion for wood and convert it into a career while they're finishing their VCE. So, and that's through the school-based apprenticeship program. So we provide a range of additional supports. We provide vetting services for employers. So if you were interested in taking a young person on, we conduct a pre-screen. We work with our students for anything from 6 weeks to 6 months prior to them setting foot on a work site. And so that the idea of the program is that they're nurtured through that first 12 to 18 months of work prior to stepping out of the secondary system and becoming a full-time employee. And as we'll go through some of the data around outcomes, and that has significantly better outcomes both for young people and for you as an employer, in terms of apprentices staying in the industry and completing their apprenticeship.
Beautiful. Okay, so in short, if you're watching this webinar, the outcomes will be, if this is something of interest to you, you're going to have the opportunity to engage in a small way. There's going to be direct contacts that you can link up with that will have people come out on site or coordinate talent for you. And it's going to be highly supported. So if you're someone who's very time poor and this is something you've been considering, this is going to be a fantastic session. So let's take it away, Jaimie.
All righty. So HeadStart, as it says, school-based apprenticeships and traineeships. So about school-based. So for those of you who don't know what a school-based apprenticeship is, there's some information there. Nathan and the team will circulate these slides. So if we do move through them, rather than get focused on one particular area, they'll be there for you to reference at a later point. But effectively, a school-based apprenticeship is a normal apprenticeship. It's just done while the young person is still at school. So therefore, their work hours are part-time effectively. So as you can see there from the little graphic, a typical apprenticeship could be 7 hours or thereabouts of work in a week, 6 hours of trade school, and the balance being school attendance. So usually for most people that works out at 3 days at school and 2 days on the work site, or a combination of work site and TAFE. So here's just some information, recent information about the carpentry sector and the building construction sector as a whole in relation to skills shortage, which, I'm sure everybody is well aware exists in the building sector generally. But their construction trade worker commencements for the year ended 2025 fell by 11.9%. And that carpenters in particular fell at a higher percentage than the general trade worker qualifications. Completion rates, on a positive note, rose. So the end of last year, there was more apprentices completed than in previous years. And carpentry is identified as a skills shortage area across all states and territories in the country. And in 2024, we had in the secondary school system, we had over 17,000 students enrolled in carpentry or a related course. So that means they have made a decision at about year 10 usually that they want to pursue a carpentry or related type occupation. So
Just to be clear, Jaimie, that's Victoria, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That's Victoria.
Yeah. So 17,000 enrolled in carpentry in 2024. That's a lot of students. So it's about the pathways, isn't it, that we're going to be opening up?
Yeah. So it's about how Carpentry Australia and you guys as employers get access to that talent. They're identifying, with the help of career staff at school and their parents, that this is their future. And I think as an industry, the imperative would be to strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
Once history demonstrates, and I've been around employment for the better part of 2 decades, and history demonstrates once young people lose that fervour or excitement, attraction to something, they're very hard to bring back to the sector. So getting them while they're young is the key to longevity in these types, particularly in trades. So what is HeadStart? As I outlined at the start, HeadStart's a program across all Victorian government schools, both mainstream and those that support students who live with disabilities. And we work with students where an apprenticeship or a traineeship has been identified as their pathway. So the idea of the program is to support the student through year 11 and 12 to complete their VCE, and in some cases we have students who will finish early because at some point in that journey, full-time work is what they've identified as their preferred outcome. But the program is there to support a student through that journey. The benefits of doing a school-based apprenticeship. So first one is students who complete year 12 demonstrated over time, 5, 10, 20 years past their secondary school, to have higher wage outcomes, better societal outcomes, all of those types of things that, you sort of can't teach a young person and they don't sort of see until they're a little bit older. All of the information that's been gathered over the years demonstrates that having year 12 leaves them better placed when they're older. So as you can see here, by completing year 12, school-based apprentices are more likely to complete their apprenticeship. So, and that's 13% more likely for apprentices. So that's good for employers because your investment in them when they are young is more likely to pay dividends to you when they get into their late second year, third, fourth, and qualified tradespeople. Covers off that. Is there anything that you wanted to add into that one there, Nathan, in terms of retention?
Stop me if we're going to get to this a bit later. But I think there's a few key things about, and the Cert 2s going on to do Cert 3s. Is now the right time to talk about that, or is that later on?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah. So, when Jaimie and I sat down a while ago, and I think this is really valuable to do, it paints a really good picture. Sorry about the noise. There's a pattern that tends to occur where, and you're better, I'm paraphrasing here, Jaimie. So there's a bunch of maybe footy mates who start together and they're mates, they don't know what they want to do and how they go about finding their employment and what that sort of pattern can look like. Can you share that example of, did you recall that story you gave me about have their mates at the footy club and one goes along because his mates are doing it? I think that gives some good context.
Yeah, 100%. So at the particular school, one of the schools I work out of is an AFL academy school. And so what I tend to see is a bunch of mates who play footy together will gravitate to the one program. So I have a group of, there's about 5 of them, where they all decided to be in year 10 that they wanted to do plumbing as their Certificate 2 program for years 11 and 12. So then a couple of them decided, I think I'm ready and I'd like to try an apprenticeship. So they came to me, we went through the process, they started their apprenticeship. Then the stragglers, when push came to shove, because they followed their mates and they had those discussions with me. And then one in particular, I don't think I want to be a plumber. I actually only really, so we spent a lot of time unpacking the motivations for choosing a course of study or a potential occupation with our students. And after a couple of sessions with him, it came out the motivation to pursue plumbing was just so he could be with his mates while they were at school. Now, bear in mind that decision's made when he's like 15, 14 and a half. So that's not unusual for young people to want to stay within that group that they've probably been through primary school with, potentially certainly high school, and in this case played footy with. So he now, after about 6 months worth of work with him, has identified landscaping. So he's now diverted. They still play footy together. They still hang out on the weekends, but that realisation that following your mates in everything is not where your own future lies. So that, as Nathan was indicating, that's something that we work on unpacking with the students before they get to an employer and they get 6 months into an apprenticeship and then go, oh, this isn't for me. We try and do that pre-work with the students, so that and that's how we end up with better retention rates.
Another key element of what you do as well, Jaimie, is providing the work experience that allows people to test the waters a little bit. And it's 2 weeks work experience throughout the year.
Generally,
is that right?
Yeah. So work experience is broken into 2 components. So there is work experience, which I think most people would remember from their time at secondary school, which is in a modern context is far more about what is it like to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to be at work at 7, or 5 to be at work at 6, and less about what you're actually doing. So in a work experience context, students are limited in what they can do for an employer on a work site because they're at a earlier level or an earlier stage in their occupational development. Then there's structured workplace learning. So if I take the example of my students who are currently studying plumbing, or what they were engaged in was structured workplace learning with a plumber. So they would be at school 3 days a week. They would be at TAFE doing a certificate 2, so the pre-apprenticeship. And then on the second day, they would be with a plumber, reinforcing some of those learnings from that training. Then once the plumber, the qualified tradesperson and the student are ready, they can then convert that structured workplace learning into a school-based apprenticeship. So we've spent a bit of time, and that could be, that component could be up to 20 days a year. And it's given the employer time to see them in the workplace and get an understanding about their capabilities and capacity to be a good tradesperson. And it's also given the student a long period of exposure, and potentially it's, over a couple of seasons, and particularly in outdoor trades. So what's it like to do, to work on a building site when it's 30 degrees? What's it like to work on it when it's 15 degrees? So, and all goes towards them making better decisions about their longer term future, and also supporting the employers to make better decisions about their recruiting.
Beautiful. So for the people watching this, we're going to be discussing and rolling out opportunities for you to be able to register to take people on for work experience and have the opportunity to give back to the next generation, whether it be for, a couple of weeks, and make that a part of your giving back to the industry. Because when our team makes calls, Matty always reports back that many people become members because they like what we're doing for the industry and what they want to see the industry succeed. So if you're someone who's been toying around with this, going, I'd like to do something, I'm not sure what I can do, we're going to provide some options for you to get involved in the next generation. All right, Jaimie, let's keep going.
So as you can see, just a reiteration of completing year 12 increases the overall apprentice and trainee completion rates. And so most apprentices who don't complete their apprenticeship will drop out in their first 12 months. So that's that danger period. So with a school-based apprenticeship, they're supported by us at HeadStart, you as the employer, their parents, the apprenticeship provider, so the federal government agency that manages the contract side of the apprenticeship, and the well-being. So schools have well-being teams who they have psychologists and social workers, in some cases doctors, and a whole heap of staff, teaching staff and non-teaching staff who are there to support students. So we can bring that power or that human resource to bear to support that student through their first 12 months. And that percentage there tells us that once they get past that 12 months, they are more likely to finish their apprenticeship, which again, and even though they're only with you on a part-time basis, that still holds true. So, and they are more likely to finish than if you were to pick that same kid up when they'd finished high school. So by taking that, a bit like as Nathan was talking about, investing in not only your own business but the sector, and taking that young person into your business and under your wing at a younger age, you generate better outcomes for your business and for the sector over time. So, as I said, nurturing the future. So the idea is HeadStart and Carpentry Australia are going to work together on a whole range of activities that are designed to connect those students who express a desire to become a carpenter with the opportunities that you as the employers have to offer them. So, and there's a range of activities there. So, as Nathan alluded to, there's work experience, structured workplace learning. There's school expos. So, schools, careers teams at schools are always looking for local business owners to come in and talk about their businesses, talk about their journey. You know, if you connect with the high school that you went to, and go and talk to the, you know, maybe the version of you, you know, when you were much younger, and have that discussion about how you came to be a business owner or, you know, a master carpenter, and the sorts of work you do, the sorts of education you've done, trade, that sort of stuff. School incursions. So schools like to do things that are on the school site. It's far less onerous in terms of organising an excursion. So that might be things like, you know, coming in with some demonstration equipment and showing kids what it's like to, I don't know, maybe do a subfloor or put a wall up, something like that. We also like to organise site tours and information sessions again. So for some of these students, particularly younger ones, it can be their first exposure to what a site looks like, and the opportunity for them to ask questions and engage in discussions with business owners and maybe even young apprentices, so that they then are able to ask questions. You know, what was it like when you first arrived on a building site as a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old? And then obviously school-based apprenticeships is the end game there, particularly for me and our team at HeadStart. So yeah, I suppose the next steps are reaching out to Nathan and his team to have that discussion, and have me or one of our team visit you at your place of work and further that discussion.
Beautiful. Excellent, Jaimie. So one point I wanted to touch on was how there's so many students who do the introduction to building and construction who don't follow it through, and how important this is.
Yeah, that's you know, you see the numbers of students who are engaged in the certificate too. So that's the generic building and construction, which gives them exposure to the range of trades that are involved in the building sector, that then don't go on, you know, because we're not seeing 17,000 students then take up apprenticeships. So why, and part of that is a reduction in tradespeople generally. So more, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago, if you walk down the street, most primary income earners in a family were either worked in manufacturing or in a trade. And now in some locations, and certainly for some cultural migrant backgrounds, most people work in admin or admin related roles. So young people being exposed to, you know, building a pencil case or building a kennel in the backyard, that happens less and less now. So being able to offer those experiences to younger people, so when they're in years 9 and 10, is how we whet their appetite to then take that to the next level and turn it into their career.
Excellent. Excellent. So as Jaimie said, we're going to send out information for you to be able to register and be involved in whether it be work placement. You can have a call with Jaimie and part of his team to find out what can work for you. Because as an industry, we can't just think about the now. We have to think about where our workforce is coming from over the next sort of 10 years. Because the people in school now are going to represent us, and it's our responsibility to help them start their journey. So if this is something that you want to be part of, I highly advise you to get involved and explore how you can contribute, because it's highly rewarding when you're helping others. So that concludes today's webinar. Jaimie, thank you very much. We'll share the details and the information to register. Thanks, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thanks so much, Jaimie. Take care, guys.
Thank you.